Hi everyone, it's Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to be a part of the Whimsy Stamps and Pear Blossom Press Lighting It Up video hop. There are some wonderful creators along this hop, and we will all be creating a card that lights up featuring stamps from Whimsy Stamps and the Easy Light kits from Pear Blossom Press. So I have a couple of things that I've done a little bit differently in this video. The first is I left the coloring out, but I did want to share with you the progression of the coloring. And I thought that while that was scrolling across your screen, I could talk about this hop because there are giveaways. For a chance to win one of two prizes from Whimsy Stamps and Pear Blossom Press, all you need to do is hop along with each video and leave a comment. Both Whimsy Stamps and Pear Blossom Press are offering one $25 gift certificate to their respective online shops. Make sure to leave your comment no later than November 1st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. The winners will be announced over on the Whimsy Stamps YouTube channel by November 4th, and I'll have all of the information about the giveaway down in the description box below for you. I will also have a link to the next participant in the hop, as well as links to Whimsy Stamps and Pear Blossom Press. In addition, there will be a list of the products that I used and a list of the Copic markers that I used as well. Okay, moving right along. For his nose, to make it a red bulbous thing, I've had these dewdrops in my stash forever. And you could use any flatback gem that you have, and my red ones weren't quite as red as I wanted, so I used a little bit of temporary adhesive to hold it in place, and then I just colored right over it with my R27 marker. Now I know what you're thinking. That dragon that I'm holding is not green, and you are correct. He is not green, and that would be because after I had the whole card put together, I changed my mind and I decided to do a green dragon instead of the brownish gray dragon. Anyway, after I was done coloring, I cut the dragon out and I used a 1/8 of an inch punch to punch a hole in his nose so the light would be able to shine through my little red gem. The next thing that I did was I used a paper piercer and I pierced little holes along the bottom of the sleigh as well as kind of around where the flames are, because I needed to figure out a way to have the lights shine through that sleigh. And honestly, that was the most difficult part in putting this whole card together, was figuring out how I was going to get that sleigh to light up in addition to his nose. Anyway, once I did figure out how I was going to do that, I did stamp and heat emboss some white snowflakes onto a piece of light blue cardstock, and I used the stitched trio die set from Whimsy Stamps to create some snowy banks. I placed my little dragon on that panel so that I could trace a circle of where I needed to punch a hole for the little light bulb so that his nose would light up. Once I had that lined up, I grabbed my paper piercer and I pierced through 3 of the holes on my sleigh so I would know where to punch 3 holes on my panel. Now there's only going to be 2 little light bulbs down behind the sleigh, but I added a 3rd hole thinking that I'd be able to get a little bit more light shining through the tiny holes that I had pierced on the bottom of the sleigh. So after I had all my holes punched in, I thought I should probably glue his little red nose in place, and for that I used glossy accents. I was really very careful just to apply that around the hole and then press the nose right on top of that. I didn't want the adhesive to fog up the back of the gem and dull the little light bulb. The Easy Lights come in a 2-pack, a 3-pack, a 5-pack, and I believe a 20-pack. And what I have is a 5-pack. So it comes with the little thing that the battery slides into that has all the wires attached to it. And then it also comes with the 5 batteries. All you have to do is snap it apart, peel one of the batteries away from the protective sheet, and slide the battery into place. When you put the battery in place, you want to make sure that the plus sign is facing up, as well as the plus sign on the part of the mechanism where you slide the battery into. So to attach my little light bulbs, I kind of separated out the wires, and the wires are very flexible. And on the very end of the wire is a little yellow dot, and that is actually the little light bulb, which is an LED, and it won't get warm, so you don't have to worry about that. You do want to have that yellow dot facing the front of your card. So I'm working on the back side. So the yellow dot is actually showing through when I flip the card over and test my little light bulb. And I just used regular Scotch tape to hold the wire in place. The wires are flexible, but you do want to be careful that you don't put any harsh bends in them. You can spiral them in kind of like a circle, and that's safe. But if you bend them too much, if you bend them too harsh, you could end up breaking the wires. Anyway, I got my first little light bulb in place, and I added more Scotch tape to the wires to hold them down. Then I kind of coiled the wire for my second light bulb so it would be the correct length. And again, I'm making sure that that little yellow dot is going to be facing outwards on the front of the card. And then I used another little piece of Scotch tape to hold my second light bulb in place. And then for good measure, I added even more Scotch tape on that coil of wires just to make sure that they didn't move around. Then I flipped it around and tested it again to make sure that they were lighting up where I wanted them to. I did the same thing with the third light. I just coiled that wire and made sure the yellow dot was facing out and held it in place with Scotch tape. Once I had my little light bulbs in place, I decided it would probably be a good time to stamp my sentiments push here, which is from the Halloween postage set by Whimsy Stamps. And I didn't want to use black ink. I wanted to use something a little bit softer, so I used blue ink to stamp my sentiment. After I had my sentiment stamped, I brought my little dragon over to test to see how much the lights were going to shine through. And to diffuse the light just a little bit on the bottom of the sleigh, I used some liquid glue and just a scrap piece of vellum on the back side of that. To hold my little mechanism down, I used one little strip of score tape on the back side of the battery just to hold it in place so it didn't shift around when I went to put my card together. Once I was able to get that score tape to actually stick to the battery instead of my fingers and remove the release paper and press it into place, it was time to add a whole bunch of foam tape to the back side of my card panel. The foam tape that I'm using is a little bit thicker than Scotch foam tape, but it's not double thick foam tape. This foam tape worked well. I think double thick probably would have been better, but overall it worked out okay. Anyway, you can see that I coated the back of that panel with a whole bunch of foam tape, but I did make sure to stay away from my little battery pack. After I had all of the release paper removed from all of that foam tape, I adhered that panel to the front of my note card, which is from Nina Classic Crest cardstock, and it's 5.5 by 4 1/4 landscape card. And of course, I'm going to test those lights a million times because that button is just fun to push to see those little lights light up. And I did have a whole bunch of foam tape on the back side of my dragon as well, but I made sure not to put foam tape around the area on the bottom of the sleigh where I put the vellum to make sure that it wasn't covered up so the light could still shine through. And you saw me tapping my fingers, and I decided that I wanted to do a green dragon instead. So I very carefully removed the nose from my grayish brown dragon. And I had done the exact same thing for this guy. I punched a hole, adhered the little red nose, and pierced a bunch of holes in this sleigh. And then I just added a little bit of liquid glue to the back side of him and just adhered him right on top of my brownish gray dragon. And when I was applying the glue, I made sure, again, to avoid the bottom of the sleigh so it didn't block the holes. And I was careful to put less glue around his nose again so that the light wasn't impeded by the glue when it dried. To finish up my card, I stamped the sentiment Merry Wishes onto a piece of white cardstock and ran that through with a fishtail banner die. I just adhered that flat to the card front because the dragon was already popped up, and then of course the front panel is completely popped up. And then I decided to add even more snow, so I used my glossy white Nuvo drops and added a few of those to the front of the card, and that's it. That finishes up my card for today. Don't forget, the next participant in the hop is listed in the description box below, along with all of the information for the giveaway. I do appreciate you joining me for this light up card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, I'd love it if you would. And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.